Is this Catherine's mask slipping? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. The royal family are, of course, world famous, and it's an institution that has existed for hundreds of years. There are some people who quite simply don't give a fig about the British royal family. There are other people who are ardent monarchists, who believe in the institution, what it represents, and see it as a good thing for the United Kingdom. Then there are others that find it interesting and are more take it or leave it. Then there are others who are just rather fascinated by the ceremony, the conventions, the history, and of course the gossip that goes with it. There are, of course, the various members of the British royal family. The Queen, of course, the stalwart, having recently completed her Platinum Jubilee and having attained 96 years of age, exemplifying what it is to demonstrate service to the nation. Admittedly, she has done so from a position of privilege, but I can tell you, I would not swap places with her in an instant, having to listen to people drone on about the new factory that she's there to open and asking people, "Have you come far?" And then having to listen to their no doubt tedious responses. No, give me my Machiavellian machinations any day of the week. But that aside, there's the Duke of Edinburgh, who passed away last year, and his various gaffes, as they were called. There's Prince Charles and the ins and outs that occurred with Diana, Princess of Wales, and then, of course, his marriage to Camilla, the behaviour of Prince Andrew, a narcissist that has been examined in a series of videos about him, and other more minor royals. There's always plenty that can be looked at. Of course, more recently, the behaviour of Harry's wife has caused a focus upon her and Prince Harry, and has spawned a cottage industry in terms of the opinions, observations, conspiracy theories about her, and of course the various behaviours that have been dissected. I, being an expert in narcissism, have explained that she is one, and I called that long ago, and ever since then, because of the level of prominence that she exhibits, and of course the high levels of interest that people have in her, have utilised her time and time again. There are, of course, her supporters, commonly known as the Sugars, that ordinarily manifest with their deluded inabilities, their complete lack of mastery of the English language, and their chirping screams of, "You don't know her, leave her alone," and readily identifying themselves as to be the deluded idiots that we know them to be. But on the other side of the coin, these individuals also like to throw pelters at the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and other members of the royal family, but particularly the Cambridges. And of the two, Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, often finds herself in their sights. There are those that complain about the level of coverage that Harry's wife receives. I see it as entirely merited, as a consequence of the need to educate people about narcissism using a real-life example. People invariably ask, well, why don't you train your sights elsewhere? Well, I have done. As I've mentioned elsewhere, I've examined Prince Andrew, I've spoken about Prince Charles, and I've spoken briefly about the Duke of Edinburgh. I've explained that the Queen, for instance, is normal. And therefore I have, in passing, and particularly with Prince Andrew, dedicated material to the examination of him. The simple fact is that one has not focused upon them to the greatest extent, because the level of interest in them is not as great as it is as understanding the behaviours of Harry's wife. But I thought it was time to examine a little bit of footage that has appeared with regard to Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, and the question that's posed, is this her mask that has slipped? So let me show you the footage. It's only a few seconds long, so I'm going to repeat it several times so that you can observe it and start to form your own views and opinions as to what's going on before I analyse it for you in detail. Here comes the clip. Well, there's the clip, played numerous times as only short. What do you deduce from it? Well, it's at a particular event. I'm not sure what the event is, albeit we can tell that it's outside. And I'm not also certain as to when this was taken, but I think it's relatively recently. But either way, those factors as to where it is and when it was taken are not particularly material. It's what we see that's important. And we see Catherine looking elegant as always, wearing a polka dot outfit and hat. And there is somebody in front of her as the frame starts, and she's then looking in a direction, and we can see that she scowls and then grimaces, mouthing something, which to my mind, and although I'm not a lip reader, to my mind she seems to be saying, "William." And then there is a look from her eyes, and then she turns away, looking a little displeased, and the moment has gone. She's holding onto her hat, presumably to stop it blowing away, and looks away. So she's there, looking to catch somebody's attention, and she certainly does. There's a bit of a glare, a grimace of the mouth, the jaw set forward. She doesn't look best pleased, and of course then away she looked. Now, might this be, as some people have suggested, Catherine's mask slipping? Well, for it to be the slipping of the mask, she has to wear one. And bad news for those people who think that she does. The simple answer is she does not. Now, of course, all people present themselves in a different way from when they're wearing their sloppy joes at home, eating nachos and binging on Peaky Blinders. When people meet somebody for the first time, for the most part, they don't show the fullest extent of who they are. They don't walk up, grab somebody by the balls and go, "How's it going, me old Mara?" and slapping them about the chops, as one might do with a much more familiar friend. Instead, they would be polite, courteous, shaking hands, nod of the head, etc., making pleasantries and small talk until they got to know one another a lot better. Indeed, there were some people who would never engage by gripping somebody by the nuts and asking how their old Mara is, with varying responses. But everybody, to agree, puts on a sort of veneer when they're dealing with people. But over time, more of their actual personality shows through. But it doesn't mean that they suddenly go into a rage attack. It doesn't mean that they suddenly start cold shouldering or ignoring people. The behaviours which, done on a repeated basis, are the indicators of a narcissist. So, whilst people present themselves in a different way, that isn't a mask in the sense of the narcissist's mask. And what we see here with Kate isn't the slipping of a mask, because she'd have to be wearing one. What we've seen with her consistently is an individual that engages with people in a pleasant, meaningful, and a manner which denotes emotional empathy. She listens to people patiently. She asks questions. She engages with them. We have not seen the death stare, looking at somebody else with pure venom shooting from her eyes. We don't see her manhandling William. We don't see her mouthing in aside or giggling inappropriately. We don't see her wandering along with a rictus grin. Now, perhaps she is a narcissist of a much higher echelon who is particularly adept at ensuring these notable tells of the rictus grin and the death stare and so like and the physical manhandling are kept under wraps. Well, that isn't the case. It can be seen from an examination of Catherine's behaviours, and it's not necessarily the case that I need to detail all of them in this video, that could be done separately, but she exhibits compassion, a caring nature. She's an excellent listener. She demonstrates a strong moral compass. She's not without her flaws, of course, she's a human being, but she certainly oozes with emotional empathy for those around her and the people that she engages with. She has bolted on to the royal family, not fought against it. She has become subsumed within it, recognising its value. She is an excellent mother to her children, and of course she has dealt with her fair share of criticisms and of course has dealt with some nasty behaviours meted out to her when she was first dealing with Prince William. Comments about her looks, her weight, and the fact that she was too skinny, suggestions with regard to the nature of her family being sort of middle-class social climbers, etc. But she didn't go into a meltdown. She didn't start a PR campaign trying to fight back against it all. She didn't sit down and engage in some kind of bombshell tell-all interview. No. She has behaved consistently throughout all of these years, demonstrating her empathic traits, which then, looking at that evidence, supports the fact that she doesn't operate with the mask. So what is it then we are seeing here, if it's not the slipping of a mask? It's quite simple. It's irritation. Empathic individual that she is not somebody who will never be prone to anger or argumentativeness or vanity, certain narcissistic traits. And here, something has caused irritation, and she's trying to get the attention, as I think, of William. Might it be that she's concerned that her hat is going to blow away and requires his assistance? Maybe she's gone to brush her teeth and wants him to bring over some mints. Perhaps spotted that Harry's wife is in the vicinity and he's trying to warn her, and he's not noticing because he's too busy chatting away to the guests. Who knows? But the fact is, this is just simply an expression of irritation and not the slipping of a mask. The evidence supports her various empathic traits, which are on display again and again and again. There's no narcissism involved here, and therefore those that suggest that this is a slipping of the mask are really simply just trying to throw mud at Catherine because of their simple envy of who she is and what she achieves. But it serves a useful example to highlight the differences so that one behaviour cannot be described as indicating, or rather being determinative that somebody is a narcissist. It's merely an indicator. And we have to look at that set against the other material and evidence of that person's behaviour. And here, if there is a slipping of the mask, then there has to be a wearing of the mask. And we evaluate the evidence to determine whether that's the case. And it isn't with Catherine. It's simply an expression of frustration and irritation, something that everybody can engage in, even empathic people. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.